Well, hello and welcome to today's video. I hope you guys are well. I'm not in Scotland today. I'm not in Wales or anywhere exotic like that. I'm in no far-flung climes. I'm quite local actually. I'm in Ashridge Woods, which is on the Ashridge Estate here in, I think, Buckinghamshire. I should know by now. I keep getting that wrong every time I say it, but I think it's Buckinghamshire. Anyway, it's not too far from my house. I wanted to come out to, I haven't really been out and got any of the real spring greens, the real strong greens that spring brings around the woodland. So I thought I'd come out and give it a go. But the Ashridge Estate, unless it's bluebells, has always been a bit of a tricky place for me to get photos. And I think it's because I'm often comparing it to other places, other locations like Holme Fen, for instance, or even the Kingswood over at Rammermere Heath. Because I find those places a lot easier, I guess, to get images. So I'm always comparing this place to those places, and it always seems to be a little bit of a letdown. And that's kind of something I wanted to talk about today. I think it was Theodore Roosevelt who coined the phrase that comparison is the thief of joy. And I've been thinking about this now for quite a long time, and planning to do a video on it, but never really getting round to it, because loosely based on that phrase or on that quote, I just want to talk about how I find often photography and also YouTube and being part of the social media community a struggle because of the whole comparison issue. I have to say, I'm struggling to find something as per usual really for this place, but as I was walking up this path here, I sort of stumbled across this scene, and there was some, well, the sun was out and there was some really nice light on it. Now today is a very in and out day. There's been a lot of heavy rain showers and also a lot of sun, bright sun. So by the time I'd got set up, the sun had gone in, but actually I don't actually mind it. I think it's just starting to rain. I don't actually mind it that the sun's gone in, because it gives quite a nice even yeah, it's definitely starting to rain. It gives quite a nice even tone to the greens, and there's no real bright highlights. So what I'll do is I'll talk you through the image here, if you like. So what I've got here are these two really big prominent oak trees that are on the right hand side of the image. And then through the background on the left hand side, I've got this fallen tree that's got its branches sort of sticking up above the bed of sort of, I think they're nettles, and oh, it's raining quite heavily now, above the nettles. And then you go through to the back where there's not a lot of light. Now when I arrived here first off and set up, when the sun was out, there was some quite nice light on through the background, so it was providing almost like a little bit of a tunnel, a little bit of a shot that takes you through. But unfortunately that's gone. But I'm going to stick around here and hope it comes back, because although I'm getting absolutely soaking at the moment, there's a lot of blue above me, and I know that's coming over this way. So I'm just going to let this rain shower pass, see what happens, and I'll certainly post up the image that I've got, and if I get a bit of light, I'll post that image up as well. going back to what I was talking about when I was sort of saying about comparison being the thief of joy, and that being loosely what I wanted to talk about today. I mean, the reason I've been thinking about this, as I said before, for a long time. You know, one of the reasons that you may or may not know, but I actually stopped making videos around sort of the back end of last year, and I was planning on just, you know, ditching the channel altogether. And part of that was comparison, to be honest with you. I was looking at my contemporaries on social media and some other people on social media, and seeing that they were moving on into different genres or different styles or different ways of making videos, and they were moving up in the social circles, if you like, you know, that we all, you know, it doesn't matter what you say, all right, it doesn't matter whether you say it doesn't matter to you or you don't take any notice of that. Everybody does. Everybody takes notice when people start moving up the hierarchy of the photographer clique, if you like. And it's difficult. It's difficult. I was looking at people making NFTs and thinking, do I need to make NFTs? You know, am I less of a photographer if I don't make NFTs? And then, do I really want to make NFTs? And just all of these things. If you don't know what NFTs are, please just don't even bother. You're better off not knowing. But you just ask yourself, you look at, you know, I was looking at, like I said, my contemporaries, and their channels were growing and they were growing, and, you know, things were happening, and I was questioning myself. Is that because I'm not worthy of it? I'm not good enough? And all of these things. And, you know, it just got to me in the end, and I just decided to stop. And then I just thought, have a word with yourself, mate. You need to sort it out. So I started up again. But even then, you know, like, I'm happy, in a reasonably happy place at the moment. Obviously, I've had my moments. I think that, do you know what? I think if you're a creative person, right, if you're a genuinely creative person, you always are going to have those moments. You're always going to have those periods where you're down, or you're angry, or you're moody, or you're whatever. Because I think that goes, passion and emotion goes hand in hand with creativity. And if you don't have that, then maybe I wonder whether you're actually a creative person. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. But, like, for instance, I'm in a reasonably happy place at the moment. But about a month ago, I released my barn owl video. You may remember that. And I was so proud of that video. I was so happy with the images. You know, I felt like everything was just great. And I happened to, by pure coincidence, release it at exactly the same time as Thomas Heaton did. And I noticed that. I went, oh, Thomas has released a video at the same time as me. And I went back after an hour and checked my views, and I had 50 views. And I checked Thomas's views, and he had 5,000 views. And I looked and thought, is his video really 100 times better than mine? You know, it's you may think it is, but you can't help but question these things. And that's what I'm saying. When you compare yourself to others, compare yourself to anything, compare your photographs to other people's photographs, you are absolutely onto a loser. Now, I am not here to tell you the best solution. I haven't got 7 tips to make you not care about what other people are doing. I can't sit in a swanky light room and, you know, give it all the, you know, I can't do any of that. Okay, I'm not that person. I don't have those answers. To be quite frank, I don't think the other people have the answers either, but I don't have those answers. All I'm doing is just giving you my feelings and my thoughts on the issue, and maybe how I might try and cope moving forward. But yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? So I'm not sure what you thought about that last image, but I think I preferred it with the nice even tones of the overcast light. It's a little bit too bright, I think, or too many bright spots when the sun was out. Now, I've got another very similar issue here. Come across this shot here, and basically what I've done is I've moved into another part of the woodland here that's got a much nicer, less busy floor. Because I think the big problem a lot of the time when you've got that sort of like brambles or nettles or whatever, is you're always fighting that in the image. You're always thinking, how can I make that look as sort of as unobtrusive as possible. And so you're kind of always ignoring the foot of a lot of the trees and trying to sort of fight it. Whereas here it's a lot better because it's a much tidier woodland floor. I mean, there's leaves on the floor and there's a few bits and pieces, but you can, you know, sort of get the trunks of the trees and really sort of bring that out a bit more. So I mean, I've got a problem because the sun is out and it's very bright, so you're getting lots of highlights, but I'm trying to work with that here with this image. So basically what I've got is I've got these two trees. I'm going to guess that they may well be horse chestnut trees, simply because there's a lot of conker casings on the floor. So I'm going to say they're horse chestnut trees. Horse chestnuts, conkers? Yeah, I'm sure they are. Anyway, and what I've got is I've got this little branch coming off the side here, and the leaves are really brightly lit by the sun, and then there's another tree in the background. So you've got this one that's sort of arching off to the right, and then this other tree that's sort of very straight in the background. There's an awful lot of contrast. It's a very high contrast image. There's a lot of dynamic range. You've got a lot of brightness on the forest floor where the sunlight's shining through. You've got a lot of brightness on the leaves themselves. But I just think that when you're in this sort of position where it's very bright as the sun dips in for a second, you've got to do something. You've got to do something with it. You've got to work with it. So my idea of working with it is to try and use that highlight on those leaves to bring out this shot. So what I'll do when I get home is I will pull out the shadows, so you've got nice interesting detail and texture in the bark of the trunks, but you've also got that nice brightness of those leaves, and I'll probably tone down the floor a little bit. That's probably what I'll do. As per usual, Ashridge is throwing up lots of challenges. I think I've got one shot here so far, and that was the first one. Yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky place. I have to say, I love these greens. I really do. I was never a fan of greens, never a fan of green at all in photography until lockdown, when we ended up doing a lot of woodland photography because you can't travel so much, and all of a sudden I love these bright verdant spring greens. Went to Scotland, as you know, a couple of weeks ago, and some of the greens there on the trees, honestly, if you'd have taken a shot of just the trees, even unprocessed, stuck it on the internet, you'd have loads of people saying you've oversaturated that, mate. It was so green. Yeah, I'm not sure. I really like these grasses though, but it's so messy around them. I like that. Obviously, I like that fallen branch, and I don't know, maybe I can make something like that. I'm not sure. I tell you how ridiculous it can get with comparisons sometimes. About when was it? Let's think. About 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago now? All of these videos were dropping for the Mavic Mini 3 Pro, and it's 850 quid. And my God, I mean, this is a bit of gas really. I really want one. I really, really want one. And I was looking at these guys, like Peter McKinnon and Potato Jet, or whatever his name is, and Philip Bloom, and yada, 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 and yada, 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 yada. All these big names. And they all got these Mavic Mini 3 Pros, Oh, look at this, fantastic. The Mavic Mini 3 Pro, it's amazing. And I thought to myself, do you know what? You're going to fly that for what? 5 hours probably, maybe less. And then that's going to go and sit behind you on your rack while you talk to people about the next thing that comes out, the next drone. How many drones and cameras and lenses and bits of gear must these people have? And I totally get it. I totally understand why manufacturers go to these guys, because they've got millions of views and hundreds of thousands of followers. But I just looked and thought, I would use that all the time. I would use that Mavic Mini all the time in all of my videos, and it's just going to sit on your shelf. And again, this is comparison. This is me being pissed off because someone else has got something that I don't. Bit of envy. When I've got a perfectly good drone sat there that I can use. It's crazy times. But again, comparison. I'm comparing myself to these bigger guys who have way more power, you know, way more power. I mean, I have absolutely no power at all, so way more power than the likes of me do. And it's just frustrating. And like I said, it doesn't matter whatever anybody says, we all get it. We all feel it. We all have that pang of jealousy from time to time. And I guess it's just how you deal with it that really matters. Yeah, there was nothing over there with that branch and those grasses. Unfortunately, I had a good look. I wanted it to work, but it just didn't. It was unfortunately it was just too busy around the scene. So such is life. Anyway, I've moved on now, and I'm at this shot, which is probably going to be my last shot of the day, and it's quite a classic cliched type shot. It's just the woodland path with the arch of trees going over the top. But the reason that I chose this is because I love all the different colours of green, the different shades, the different tones as the light's coming through this canopy of leaves. And also I like the fact that some of these branches are almost silhouetted, and that's really nice. Now there's a load of brown sort of horrible mud in the foreground, so it's probably going to end up either being a letterbox shot that starts where the grasses start, or I might clone a bit of grass in further back into the foreground, and just give it a little bit of zhuzh that way. So one of the two, but I like it. It's nice, and I think it's benefited in this case by the fact that the sun has gone, because you haven't got really sort of bright highlights and deep shadows. You've just got quite a nice even tone, even though you've got very, very dark branches against this sky where the canopy is. So the theme of today, other than Ashridge is difficult, is that, you know, I was saying about comparison being the thief of joy, and when you compare yourself to others, it never goes well. And you know, we talked about that in terms of social media, we've talked about that in terms of YouTube channels, we talked about that in terms of photography, you know, we talked about it in terms of lots of things. So how do you overcome that? Well, I guess that's the $64,000 question, isn't it? How do you overcome that? But something I think that helps me and has helped me is to try and remember all the small things, you know. So for instance, I'll give you an example. Went to Scotland, okay, got that photo of whatever that mountain's called, Stob something or another, yeah, the one that many people call, ooh, it's a big old bird, one that many people call the Buckle, right? And posted it up, got a good response. I liked it. But if you go online and you search Glencoe on Flickr, for instance, there are hundreds of shots very similar to that, and a lot of them better conditions, better light, maybe better composition. But none of those other images have attached to it the sense of achievement that I got from the climb, the absolutely brilliant time that I had with all the guys I was there with, everything else that went around it, the fact that it's mine, the fact that I can be proud that I took that shot myself, the fact that that shot will never be taken away from me. So even if I compare that shot to 100,000 other images and look at it objectively and say maybe 90% of those images are better than mine, I'll always have those associated memories and feelings and thoughts, and the fact that I still went and took that shot. And I think that's what you've got to try and get out of doing anything, is the sense of achievement and the sense of pride in yourself. So it doesn't matter if X person is 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 subscribers ahead of me and we started at the same time. It doesn't matter that X person has a Mavic Mini 3 Pro and I don't. It doesn't matter that X person has several million likes on the same type of image that I've taken. It doesn't matter about views. It doesn't really matter. And I'll tell myself that all day long. And at some points I will still feel thoroughly pissed off and unhappy and inadequate and not as good as someone else, which is similarly the same thing. I'll still feel those from time to time, but hopefully not with such deep troughs that I've had previously, because I've got these other mechanisms now that say, I love YouTube, I love making YouTube videos. It's one of the most enjoyable things that I've ever done. I love the creative process. I love photography. I love visiting places. I love going out with my mates. And all of that wouldn't be here if I stopped. So you can apply that to anything. It doesn't have to be to YouTube or photography. It could be to anything in your life. Think about the little things. Think about the good things that come about when you do those things. And even if someone else does it 100 times better than you, just think about all the good stuff that you get. That's what I do anyway. Anyway, I might have a look for one more shot, but I think I'm going to say goodbye. And if I find it, I'll leave it with you. And if I don't, then thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.